So, Eizouken.
That is a thing.
I don't know what you're talking about. We had watched The Adventures of You, Me, and Spooky Gamb.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking to Spooky then, so it's like, yeah, The Adventures of Yumi and Spooky.
Yep.
Sorry,
Who's
okay.
Gamb? Never heard of him.
No, sorry. No, Spooky, that's not what we watched. We watched The Adventures of You, Me, and Gamb.
Yay. Gamb exists now.
I exist.
I've spoken him into
Apparently.
existence. Yay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yay.
Anyway, we watched something, didn't we?
We sure
I-
did.
I'm gonna start out to say that Spooky absolutely fucking loves this. On like a 10
Oh, yeah.
out of 1
Yeah,
to 10.
absolutely. And I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Eizouken, and this is definitely the favorite show that I've shown you guys so far, for me.
I was gonna
Like,
say,
out
you
of
haven't
all
showed
the-
us Madoka yet.
Yeah, out of the shows I've shown you,
I'm waiting for
Eizouken,
that.
I don't know if we can even get into that on this podcast.
I think everyone knows how much you love Madoka.
Yeah.
We'll watch, what we'll do is we'll watch one episode of Madoka and then just talk about it.
Oh fuck, I wouldn't even know what to
No,
pick.
wait,
Anyway,
is there a Madoka
well,
OVA?
No, I know
movie?
literally what
There are
episode
three
to pick.
mo- wait, there
Mommy's
are three
fucking
movies.
death. That's
no,
what we watch.
There are three movies that actually would be perfect, but it would be
Oh my
long.
god.
Because
Anyway,
the movies are summaries of the series. Anyway, Eizouken. Out of the shows I've shown you so far, this one's my favorite. Out of the shows I've shown you so far, this is the only one I've given a 10. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we've only went through a couple, but Eizouken is not one of my top 10. I really do like it, though.
I'm gonna be straight up. This is
Uh-huh.
a hard one to really summarize, like, the plot of
Yeah.
bit by bit, without going like into really specific, boring details of like
Right.
what exact conversations are about, like word by word. So it's like a lot of my notes are just like a big scene that happens for a while where they talk about thing, which like I brought this up when we were watching it, where it's like it's the kind of anime or even just piece of media where it's like it's kind of
teaching.
not much really happens and there's not a antagonist per se. It's not a standard narrative, but it isn't harmed because of that. Because of the fact that it knows that it's kind of not actually a standard narrative in the sort of traditional sense of there's a good guy, there's a bad guy, and there's conflict. It's more kind of abstract in what the antagonistic force is and what the conflict is.
Right.
But it's like a lot of the scenes are just them talking about making this product that they're making, and it's like there's not really much to describe there, and like it sounds boring to describe it like that, but it's like the point of the anime is in the sort of specific details
Yes.
and the sort of creative vision of it so intertwined within that narrative.
Yes.
I mean,
in
if you
saying
want,
that-
if you want to boil it down to the most basic thing, some people want to make an anime.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was
That's
I was literally about to
literally-
say, I was literally going to say, in saying that, here's what happens in episode 1.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is like the general premise, if you want to boil it down past like the fact that it's a piece of media that very obviously wants other people to make pieces of media, is that it's making an anime and it's people's like three girls or people's adventures, because I feel like Eizouken themselves is not Eizouken, the main character, Camo Girl,
Asakura?
Asakura, feels
Awesome.
very non-binary to me, so I keep wanting to go back between they and she. So anyway,
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
looked it up. They seem to be, quote unquote, officially under she, her, so.
okay.
From what I can tell.
Well, I mean, in the same way that I am she, her, and they, them. So anyway,
No, I know. I mean, sort of, because I had that same problem.
let
too.
me have my representation. Anyway, sorry, I'm good.
So in episode 1, we start off with a car going yum-yum. It's driving around. We get some beautiful environmental shots as the car's driving along. We seem to very clearly be following a family that's moving. And the smallest one in the family, the sort of child, seems to be sort of... wants to be an explorer or an adventurer. and the minute they get out of the car, they're like, just fucking run off and just start exploring the whole landscape that they live in now. And made point that they've got, like, an adventure log with, like, rough drawings and, like, written bits of, like, places they've seen and things they've witnessed, and then we cut to a nighttime setting. It's pelting down raining, and who I'm presuming is the mother, could be just a guardian of some type, but I'm saying it's the mother, basically leaves them alone in the house and says, "I'm going out, and I shan't be back till I've found cigarettes."
Don't make an anime without me.
Yeah, don't make an anime without me. To which this child then starts basically doing the best thing ever, which is, when it's raining, you shut the windows, you turn the lights off, and you either watch something or play something. And they decided to watch anime, and then they had
specifically
Well, I've never actually watched Nausicaa, so
it's
I'm
they're
not gonna make
watching
a connective
they're watching basically what is Nausicaa Valley of the Wind.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like, it is like frame for frame in some points like Nausicaa. So
Yeah, which I'm gonna I would be very curious in how they tried to get away with it, considering how strict Japan's copyright laws are.
Yeah.
Specific, like, they don't even have a parody clause, so it's like, how did they get away with this?
Yeah. It's also worth noting that how the anime opens is very similar to how Spirited Away opens.
yeah.
Oh,
it
yeah.
is.
Chihiro in a car looking up at the ceiling, and it's the same shot.
Yeah. So this child essentially instantly becomes connected to this anime creatively. They pick up on the fact that it's the first time they're watching something that they believe that someone had a vision for, and it's a vision that they personally connect with. And it basically creates a motivation and drive for them to be like, I can do this myself. Like, I have this sort of vision myself. Like, I want to do this. It's like, wow, that's a really good representation of how, like, all sorts of influences can be stimulating a child into discovering what they want in life and what they want to do and what they want to create and be. It's like, wow. Personally, I never had that, but I understand the purpose of it and point, and the fact that it's a very strong driving force for a lot of people, and it is for this character. So then we zoom forward in time because we get the intro, which is great, and I've already watched the intro before, so I already knew what it was, and I mean, Easy Breezy is a great fucking song.
Yes.
And we as the intro was going by, we kept making jokes about, because it's the three main characters, and they have very specific scenes by themselves that it's like, here's their character traits with, like, things that they like, and we kept joking about the fact that it's kind of blatantly obvious. It's like, here's the things that are distinct about this character and separate them from the other characters. It's like, kind of important to do that, but it's also kind of funny to look at as well.
I wonder what this character likes.
Yeah, I think the jokes we made was like, this character likes art, this character likes taxes.
Yeah.
And then we started getting into how they were a late stage capitalist.
Yeah.
Little did we know.
Little did we know. So then we're in the future now, and this child has grown up somewhat, and is now people watching, and is sitting on top of a roof with binoculars, looking at all sorts of things going on. And the thing that I think annoys me the most is when they first look out the binoculars, there is a man in a giant chicken costume, and he never shows up again. You don't even see the front of him, you see the back of him, but it's very clear that he's in a giant chicken suit, and you don't fucking see him again. And I'm like, where is this? Oh, cool. They're gonna go downstairs, they're gonna run through the streets, and they'll find the chicken man, and he'll be at least there again in the background somewhere, and we'll get more information. He never shows up again. And I want to know why. But anyway, as they're looking at people, we pan down to see their adventure log, which has kind of grown to become their sort of sketchbook, portfolio, whatever you want to call it, of just all these drawings they've done of environments and people, and some are pure sketches, some are completed pieces, some are all sorts of very detailed pieces of art, and it's like very clear that like, hey, between the past and now, this child has kept their vision strong and has grown to be on that path of creating something to do with art. Whether it still be anime or not, we don't know yet. But we do know because another character comes up and is like, "Why don't you just join the fucking anime club if you wanna make anime?" And this is when our main character's like, "I don't do well with people. Like, I don't do well in crowds. Like, I don't want to join them there." I forget the specific reason why she doesn't want to join the anime club. I believe I just chalked it down to I don't like the people there.
So what it was that money basically went, hey, if you went down there, like, you'd have a better view of everybody. You wouldn't have to use binoculars. And then Camo Hat basically went like, you should come to anime club with me. I will, even if I like pay you in like milk, would you come?
Oh,
and the other one's like, no.
I mistaked the because at this point I was mainly just admiring the drawings. That's the point where the tall one, because we don't really know their name properly yet, basically tells them, hey, like, why are you up here? If you want to experience more, why don't you go down there and talk to them? And that's when they say they don't do well in crowds. But then they're like, can you come with me to this anime thing that's going on? And the tall one's like, no, I don't want to fucking do that. I don't like this shit. Like, no, what's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Nausicaa is like, I'll buy you milk.
Yeah, I'll buy you milk. But then it's like, it all starts off with the scene of the tall one handing a shopping bag over to our main character, and I'm going, wait, where's my change? And the tall one goes, well, I kept it. It's my service charge. I was like, found the capitalist.
Yep.
So end up the negotiations succeed, and they go to this sort of anime, I believe, it was
a viewing,
a showing for the anime club's like end of like semester or whatever it is, like something the anime club has made together.
Oh no, they were just watching the Nausicaa anime again.
Oh, they were just watching the Nausicaa anime
they were
again?
just watching it. Yeah.
That makes sense. I wish anime club. No, I don't. So they sit at the back because, I mean, our main character doesn't deal well with crowds and prefers to observe people, so it makes sense that they sit at the back. But they sit behind someone with an afro that like is so big that they're unable to see. And Deer and I were both going, just move over one seat. Well, there's no one sitting either side of you.
So I actually wanted to point that out. The reason why she didn't move over one seat is because Kanamori didn't move. And she didn't want to sit with the space in between them. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Fair, but also she could have just moved to the left of Calamari. I don't know.
That's true.
Anyway.
She just call her Calamari.
Did you just call her Calamari?
Yes!
Okay, so they're trying to watch this anime on, and Asakura is sort of bent down to like see the anime going on, and Kanamori's just sitting there completely uninterested, just like trying to just, I don't get it. What interests you about this? Like, what is it? What about this is interesting to you? And Asakura just goes on this massive rant about why it's so good.
It's just this podcast.
The specifics of the anime and
I think at this point we kind of realized, oh no, this is spooky.
Yeah,
this is the point where we were like, this is spooky.
I literally said, this is me explaining, like, this is me on the podcast with Gamb. Like, me being like, wow, look at all this stuff, and Gamb's just like, okay, fine.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like, specifically things they were saying about, like, the logic of the anime as well, where it's like, oh god, this really is just me and spooky right now. And then Deer walks in.
Yep.
So, another character walks in, and two men in black walk in. And I'm like, oh shit, my notes specifically say, the men in black are here. And then a second later, Asakura's like, are those the MIB? And I'm like, fucking stole my joke. So this new character gets up in Asakura's face and is like, hi, I'm this famous fashion model. I need to borrow your hat real quick. Is that okay? Cool, bye. Steals the hat and runs down the theater to the front and tries to avoid these men in black. And sorry, I've written here. So this character sits down, positive that she's gotten away from these men in black. And then my note just says, the men in black want her to drink her milk. Because suddenly a milk carton appears in front of her, and this security guard of some sort walks up, and she's like, no, I don't want to drink my milk. And this is when Kanamori and Asakura have caught up, because they're like, hey, I want my hat back. And they're listening to what's going on, and Asakura's like, I don't know what to do. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, are they gonna steal her? Like, what are we gonna... And Kanamori just looks behind them and just pushes a button that elevates the platform they're on, so they appear right in front of the two. Freaks the shit out of Asakura. He's like, what are you doing? What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And this is when the men in black are, like, talking about, hey, we've been ordered to make sure you don't join the anime club because you've got famous things and
You need to
blah,
be a
blah,
model.
blah. You need to be a model, yeah. And she's like, but I want to be an anime. And this is when they start. Asakura basically cracks and walks up to them and is like, hey, this is me and another person. Like, what are you doing? Come with us. You're meant to be with us right now. And this new person's like, what? And then Kanamori just picks her up and starts fucking running.
They kidnap her.
And so the men in black's following them. They're like, oh shit, we gotta get away. They've run into a high school, like, theater stage. And they've run up a flight of stairs where there's sandbags tied to rope at the end that operate different bits of machinery in the stage. And Spooky Night at the same time made the fucking pull the lever cronk joke. And then, because Asakura lets go of one of the things, and it completely does something that doesn't help them at all. And then, immediately, Spooky Night again went, wrong lever cronk! And then...
The main thing here that I'm realizing is that Spooky and Gamb's friendship and characters were very well established, and I hadn't been introduced yet, so I was just like, alright, I'm not making the same jokes as y'all. It's fine.
So Asakura tries pulling one of the other ropes again, and because the security guard's kind of standing on a trapdoor, the trapdoor opens, but the security guard doesn't fall into it because he's actually standing kind of to the right of it. He's like, ah, shit, we nearly got him. He starts climbing the stairs. One last rope they let go, and the stairs flatten. And he slams his head against it and slides all the way back down into the hole.
I love, like,
and
the neck-breaking noise that it makes when he hits, by the way.
So visceral. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you could hear that.
Yeah.
But this is when I pointed out as well, the music in this show is really fucking good.
Yes.
It's like some prime 80s electro-funk with, like, an emphasis on the bass, which is...
With an emphasis on the funk.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where the bass comes in. The bass is the funk. So I was like, I'm into this. So then they were like, shit, we gotta run before they come to their senses and catch up with us. And so they're walking through the city, trying to get to this hideout that they're talking about that'll keep them safe. And this is when we learned that her name is Mizusaki, and she's this famous model that she's not allowed to join the anime club because her parents were so protective, and because she's this model and she's got a life ahead of her being a model, but she doesn't. She wants to make anime. She wants to be an animator. And so they end up at this laundromat, which has an air conditioner on the door. So everyone basically has to bend down to get through the door. And they're like, ta-da, it's our safe place to hide.
Because she laughed so hard at everything happening that she spit milk onto her jacket.
Yeah,
was the main thing.
Yeah, so that's why it's main the reason that they went there, to do the laundry and also hide there. But it's also like, okay, they put her clothes in the laundromat so they can like chill upstairs and like talk for a bit while her clothes are washing, and she puts the clothes in and pulls out her black credit card and tries to like, has that rich person sense of like, where do I put the credit card in the coin slotted laundromat?
What's
and
a
that's
quarter?
when Kanamori, Kanamori's just like, I'll just fucking get this for you, like you owe me.
Yeah, she said, I'll
you
think
can
of
pay me
this
back
as an
later.
investment.
Yeah. So then they go over to the vending machine, which gives them milk, and that's when I've just written milk poggers. And they go upstairs, and this entire time Mizusaki's like, wow, this is such a lovely place, like a normal life, like I've never been able to like experience this sort of like this like sort of building. It's such an old sort of like calm type of building. They sit down, drink their milk, and Mizusaki pulls out a portfolio and like, I want to be an animator, and like they scroll through the drawings, and Asakura's like, wow, these are really good. And meanwhile, Kanamori just goes behind Asakura, pulls out Asakura's portfolio and hands it to Mizusaki. Asakura freaks the fuck out.
Yep.
But this entire thing, they're like, wow, like all these things that you're talking about, like you're really good at this, and like, I struggle at this. It's like, wow, you're really good. And then Kanamori's just like, listen, why don't you two make a fucking anime? And Asakura freaks the fuck out, like, what? You can't just ask people that.
Yep.
But then they start bonding, like, they put their drawings together and start creating new things together, and this is when we learn that Mizusaki can't join the anime club, so she can't make anime, and then Kanamori's just like, make your own fucking club then! If you can't join the anime club,
okay,
why
Gam.
don't we make our own?
Fuck!
And this is when we kind of solidified, like, okay, the minute Kanamori handed over Asakura's portfolio was the minute that solidified it for me that I was Kanamori. Because it's like, I have done that so many fucking
You've
times
done that to
people.
me! You've done that to me!
Especially Deer. Especially Deer.
God. I can't count the amount of times that you've fucking done that to me. And I was just like, God damn it, Gam. Like, I don't feel like doing this. And you're like, too fucking bad. I'm like, God damn it.
And then, so they're bonding over this sort of thing, and then they're like, but Kanamori, why do you want to help? And Kanamori's like, listen, I want fucking money, and like, if you two get together, we can make some money. And it's like, this is when I realize that Kanamori is I don't want to say good type of capitalist, but like the morally good, the sort of moral capitalist, the one that doesn't create or grow income through exploitation, but through what people wish capitalism was, which is through nurturing and creativity, where it's like, Kanamori is entirely the business mind of like, we need to do this, like instead of screwing people over, it's the type of like, listen, to create art, you have to compromise between your creativity and the reality of your situation when it comes to creating things, which we'll get to as we go through the episodes, because it's depressing how accurate this is to me. So then this is when we get the second part of this anime that I feel really locked it in my mind as it grew to something more, and I feel I like it a lot because of it. Where as they're designing, like the Mizusaki and Asakura together design this sort of pod-looking thing, and they're like, well, how would it work? Like, in this sort of thing that we've drawn, like, it would need, like, robot arms in order to create it, and,
so,
like, landing
okay.
gear.
So, between the two of them, it felt very fucking Doodle Fort, because one of the things I do in Doodle Fort is, like, is there a reason for this? If there's not a reason, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
If there's not a reason for the wings being the way they are, why are you drawing them that way? You could do them a different way, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like that, and like I was just like, oh no, I am this character 100%. I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, they basically go through the motions of like, not just I really like it because it's the type of it's the type of creativity that I like. It's not just creativity for creativity's sake, but it's like creativity with a logic. Like,
Yes.
it's the exact type of thing that I try and get across to you two when I talk about, like, things that I like about anime and don't. Where it's like, they drew something and they're like, okay, how do we make this make sense within the things that we've, like, discussed and, like, the things that we're drawing? And it's like, okay, we've got, like, it would need wings, like, this big, and, like, well, if it's got wings this big, then it means that it must be this big, and it's got this, and it's got landing gear, then, like, how does it all fit together? And, like, as they're talking, suddenly the anime switches from reality to this metaphorical creativity perspective of the characters are inside the world, and the best part about it is that because it's Asakura's main vision, all of the sound effects in it are Asakura's voice actor fucking making those noises.
Yeah.
And every time you hear them, all I could think was, they must have had so much fucking fun.
It's like
fucking doing that.
Like,
Yeah.
My favorite one is the one that we talk about in, like, I think it's episode 4 where my favorite one is, I forget exactly where it... Yeah, it's episode 4. So I'll talk about it when Deer explains it, but,
So actually, there's another thing that I'm thinking of that does that same thing. There's a Ghibli film that actually does that. And
which Ghibli film?
I'm trying to remember. It was the one about flight. The airplane one, yeah. It's
Oh, I
Porco
didn't...
Rosso?
No, fuck. Wait, hold on. I know what you're talking about. I watched that.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah. The Wind Rises.
I'm terrible with
The
Ghibli
Wind
films.
Rises. I didn't like that
Yes.
movie. I fucking hated that movie.
I actually really liked that movie because this was right around the time I had, like, just gotten out of the hospital and I was dealing with the fact that me and Max were going to get married and stuff. So you see where that's going?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like it because it feels very not Miyazaki. It feels like it's supporting war and all these things because it's about a man who goes to America to make bomber planes because he wants to make planes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. And so he
I
gets
just thought it was
hired to make
boring.
bombers.
I don't
Okay,
know.
well, that's fair.
I couldn't trudge
But-
through. I was just like, damn.
Whenever he's dreaming about planes, it's like is the
I
fucking
don't
plane
remember
noises,
that.
and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Huh. Yeah, I don't remember that bit. It's been a while since I tried to watch it. But yeah.
It's okay.
Anyway.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So combined with the sort of sound effects that are going on, the sound effects that are caused where it's like, in this metaphorical creativity perspective, instead of, like, drawing these images that are going on, they do what I'm glad that they went with, because if they had gone into this perspective and they were still kind of drawing what was going on, like sort of a chalk zone type thing where it's like, they draw the wings in, like, the world of the thing, they have all the power is in their utensils, their tools, all the power is in that, where it's like, no, they go the more appropriate standpoint, which is they essentially turn into engineers, where it's like Asakura's got, like, a drill and is, like, drilling in, like, nuts and bolts and, like, as they're designing this thing, and it's like the creativity comes from them themselves, basically it's the equivalent of, it doesn't matter what fucking tool you use, what matters is how you use it, and
Yeah.
basically stop asking artists for what brush they use.
I really love, too, that during them, like, using their imaginations, to plot these things out, when Kanamori's there, she just, like, doesn't give a shit. Like, they're like,
Kanamori,
quick,
like,
this is an
is an
emergency, we have to
observer.
do this, and Kanamori's like, fine, whatever.
The thing that really that's really great to me is that Kanamori is in and kind of involved with it, but almost every shot with Kanamori where they're, like, designing something, Kanamori isn't in the internal sort of circle of, like, object, Mizusaki and Asakura. Kanamori's just off in the distance, sort of, like, observing them. Like, it's like Kanamori's involved, but not involved in the creative process. Kanamori's just involved in the world itself, because Kanamori's part of the group. Where it's like, it's the perfect sort of metaphorical representation of what's currently going on in that room. And it goes to another level where it's like, okay, they've built this thing and they're gonna test it. And as they're starting it up to test it, oh no, 2 men in black appear and they're gonna try and get Mizusaki to go back to being a model, not an animator. And they're like, oh shit, we gotta, something's gone wrong. It's not wanting to go off the platform. We need to get out and push. And like, Mizusaki's like, wait, okay, I'm going out to push. And Kanamori's just like, okay, fine, whatever. And just dives through a fucking grate to go outside.
Yeah.
So they start pushing, and you essentially get the scene of, hey, it's working. Like, this thing that we've created, like, it's a bit janky, but hey, it's working, and like, we're gonna be able to escape the bodyguards. And do you get the metaphor we're going for here? Everyone dive into this thing, and we'll escape them. So everyone gets in, and they start flying away, and oh no, the bodyguards themselves have their own flying machine that kinda seems out of place, is like dark and more cold looking, and doesn't really fit the rest of that world too much. So it's like, it's an external force trying to bring them down and destroy their vision before it's really taken off. Great little... basically what I'm saying is this entire sequence of, like, metaphorical creativity, I fucking loved. And I was like, man, if I realized that, like, this anime's got these 2 parts to it, I really kind of want to watch the rest of it now.
Hell yeah.
Basically, oh yeah, I forgot the end of it, which is, they've been chased, they manage to get away from the bodyguards again, and they go up, and they see the greatest world. Like, they basically go into space and see all these creative ideas just waiting to be explored. And that's what I wrote in my notes. Kanamori spiked the milk, I bet. So then we've returned to the real world. It's like, wow, they've drawn a lot, they've talked a lot, it's like nighttime now. Oh shit, Mizusaki didn't look at the time, she's gonna be late for the anime club again. Because she wanted to watch the thing live, and she didn't get to see it. And so they're standing outside, they've forgotten about the washing, and they're sort of like, how quick? How do we get back to the station real quick? And Asakura's like, I can go this way. And then Kanamori's just like, last one there has to get me a treat. And then just fucking bolts.
Yeah.
And the other 2 are like, wait, what? And they have to chase after her. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That was,
Pretty good.
it's such a good first episode too, because I feel like normally first episodes kind of like, I don't know, they don't have like as strong of an impact. It's just kind of like, here's some exposition. I feel like a lot of the times with this podcast, I'm like not going to show you guys the first episode, but this one has such a strong first episode, and it does such a good job at introducing the characters.
It does the job well of not just introducing the characters, it introduces their relationship, it introduces their goals, aspirations, and essentially gives you a hint of, like, the overarching narrative of this anime, which is like, they want to make an anime, they're gonna make an anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, cool, I'm on board.
Yeah. So. So I guess... me next. We jumped forward a bit. Episode 4. They're making an anime. They're working on it already.
Wow.
And we see, like I said, I didn't write their actual names. They were Model, Camo Hat, and Tall Girl. So, there's that. They're now working on the anime, so we've jumped pretty far ahead, and we see the model doing, like, explosion references. And they're both getting frustrated, so the model took out a machete and starts swinging it around. And so Camo shows the other one, like, real-life references. And they're like, use references. And I was just like, God damn it! And then Money comes in and shoves them both into the PC room where they watch, like, a compositive version of what they have so far. And they're like, oh, this is so cool. Whatever. They're like, oh, also we have 1 month left of our deadline, and we only have a few cuts done. And they apparently...
only 4 cuts.
Yeah. They apparently throw in some backgrounds to make the scenes more viable instead of having the cuts be huge, because their 4 cuts are like stacks tall, when normally a cut is only like a few pages thick, sort of thing. So they decide to start cutting in places so that it takes less time to make. And they're like, we should do it in black and white. It looks really cool. And Model's like, wow, we could just not have a story. And Camo's like, no, I really want the story, but that doesn't matter because if they don't finish the thing, it's not gonna matter if there's a story or not. So they're gonna bluff through whatever they're doing to get through the budget show off thing, like to show that they're a club and that they should get a budget. So they also were like, hey, why don't we do automatic tweens? And Model's like, no, I want to do the animation by hand. And I'm not going to take shortcuts. I'm going to do it my way. And I was just like, God damn it.
I just want to cut in real quick because we missed, there's one specific thing that I want to point out. So when they're talking about, here's all the tips and tricks we can use to cut down on production time so we can get this done. It's Asakura goes into this creative metaphorical perspective again, and Asakura's behind a camera projector, and the projector's sound is Asakura's voice actor just going and I was not paying attention at all to what they were saying because I was just fucking laughing my ass off at that fucking sound effect. Just imagining the voice actor in the booth just going, okay. It's so fucking funny. Anyway, continue.
So unless they make some changes to everything, they're not going to finish in time, and they're like, okay, well, if you're going to hand animate everything, this is going to be basically still frames, and we're not going to get done in time. And so Camo is over there dooting on their computer for a bit. And Money's like, I'm going to go ask the art club for help for backgrounds. And they're like, I don't want to, make people do things. But she's like, fuck you, leaves. And then she comes back and basically goes, they don't want to do it. And so Camo is sent back to work more on backgrounds. And Model really likes the ability to do some frames by hand. And some can be tweened. The ones that really, really matter are going to be done by hand, which... Literally, me and Gamb throughout this entire thing were like, just do half and half. Do that. And then they decide to do that.
Well, and that's when I was like, oh, it's okay. Kanamori's realized how to negotiate with them, and it's Kanamori has realized that Mizusaki's not used to really people telling her no and sticking having to compromise. So it's in order to get them to compromise, you've got to drag them along, which means showing them hey, if you don't want to do this, we've got to go with the worst case scenario. And if you don't want to do it, I guess the project's done. So it's well, I guess I'll do some most tweens then. It's that's what Kanamori wanted from the beginning.
Yeah.
Which
Kanamori never wanted it.
Which for me, I'm usually that's the one part that I was just that's not really, it's whatever. Anyway. So they're trying to look at everything, and fucking tall girl comes in and she's like, hey, why are you sleeping under the desk? And Camo Hat's like, I wanted to be a professional, so I slept under the desk. And they're like, okay, well, it's 6 a.m. and Model is done with everything that she's doing, so we need to go show the approval thing right now. And they're talking about the presentation and what they're gonna do, and they're like, okay, you don't talk, I'll handle this. And they're like, okay, Model and Camo Hat won't talk, we got this, we're done, we got this, we're going through with this. So we cut to them wanting to present their anime short that they decided to do instead of the full thing. And they introduce the Carbohydrate Club. who want to introduce a different menu that involved rice with ramen, because then that way you could cut school budgets on food, and everyone is throwing food at them and booing them off the stage and stuff, and it's hilarious.
There's literally
you can't have 2 carbohydrates in a meal.
They have security guards and fucking raid armor pushing back.
Riot gear.
Yeah, there's a character in the crowd that has a missile launcher.
He's just got a missile launcher constantly. Specifically, I've written down in capitals for that: carbohydrates, double cafeteria orders, hold back the mob, riot squad.
Yeah. So it becomes their turn to show off the anime, and they're like, all right, so real quick before you start, here's this list of shit you fucked up. You broke walls, steel pipes, you adopted a raccoon dog, and they're like, okay, listen, don't worry about that, watch this. And they're like, no, this is important, why doesn't this matter? And it's like, okay, here's the thing. If y'all were worried about the random people on campus that were chasing Model Chick, shouldn't that be the school's security problem and not ours? And shouldn't the, quality of the walls of the school be the school's problem and not ours? We were working with what we were given. We were locked out of our building, apparently, and, we had to get through somehow, and we broke a wall to do that. That's what happened. And they're like, listen, this isn't you calling out the school. Just show us, why do you think this is okay? So, at this point, they're, kind of arguing back and forth. And Camo Hat basically goes, listen, shut the fuck up. Don't complain about how we did this until you see what we did. And they're like, there's a silence. They're like, okay. So now we show off the anime. And they're showing off the anime. And there's a lot of things happening, and the entire crowd feels like they're flying right alongside the girl falling, and gun canisters are falling around them in the school from the tank, and then the tank is coming through the movie screen. Fuck! And
it's like a perfect visual metaphor for the way that media is immersive and can draw in the interest of an audience and really make them interested in the world by how
Gamb?
Visual
Gamb?
and impactful it can be on them.
Gamb? No shit. So when they finish the show, the crew is still they cut to the crew and they're still talking to each other, ignoring everything around them. We should probably change this. These colors should probably be changed on the tank because it sinks too far into the background. Blah, blah, blah. And the student council is just staring them wait, if this is what you could do with no budget, what if we gave them a budget? And then they're approved. And then the episode ended.
Well, it's also specifically while they're thinking about that this entire time the camera is focused mainly on the three of them, and instead of being wow, they really loved it, wow, they loved every second of it, oh, that person over there was cheering really loud. Instead, they're focusing solely on what they've created and been oh man, we should have done this, there was a mistake over here, we can improve this by doing this better. And the council of students is discussing hey, they seem they're actually are legit about this.
Yeah.
If this is what they could do with no budget, what can we do if we gave them a budget? Considering they're talking about already improving it, it's we could use this.
Yeah.
And then they get a budget, and everyone's happy. The end of anime.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
That's the end of the anime.
The end
We're
of
done.
all anime ever.
Yep.
There doesn't need to be any more anime. This is the only one.
Yep. This is the only anime that matters. Goodbye, Madoka.
No!
Yeah.
Oh,
shit.
Okay. So, then we cut forward quite a bit to, from episode 4 to episode 9. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. From the looks of it, they've created at least one more anime of some type, where it's okay, that seems to be what's going on, but the very first scene in episode 9, it's raining, and the council is there again, and Kanamori's in front of the council, and it's oh, what's going on here? And they're listen, we've received reports that the Sound Club have been selling their stuff online. It's okay. And they've been... Someone's been pocketing rent from them. And It's essentially like, okay, Kanamori has been essentially finding ways for them to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And the council have found out about it and are like, listen, that money is ours now.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that's not good. So we go back to Kanamori greets the other two, and they're like, wow, our latest anime was a hit. Everyone loved it. And Kanamori's like, look at all these proposals we've been given by, like, the fried tofu club, the anime club, the carbohydrates club.
Yep.
I love that they still continue that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's in the first episode, and then it's in the fourth episode. It's probably in other episodes as well. But it was in the first episode as well, when we first cut to the future. And the other two are like, wow, look at all these things, we could do this, and Kanamori's like, no, we're not going to do any of them. And they're like, what do you mean? And Kanamori pulls out a whiteboard with all these financial statistics on it, and is like, listen, we sold like we sold like 100 DVDs of this at 1,000 yen each. It made this much money, but here's the problem. Because they owned the product at the end of the day, they earned all the money on it. So at the end, we only earned like this much when we should be earning this fucking much. They're like, oh man, this sucks. And Kanamori's like, if we wanted to break even and earn enough money on it, we would have to sell like nearly 2,000 copy DVDs of this anime. And it's like, that's not going to happen. It's easier if we just make something ourselves and not work for someone else. And it's like, oh god, I really am fucking Kanamori, aren't I? Because
Yep.
when I used to host zines, art zines, that is something that I literally would do. I had my tables that would break down financial costs, and it would literally be like, in order to break even, we need to sell like 20 of these or 100 of these in total, and it's like, oh god.
If it's any consolation, I was literally your artist on those, so I was literally right in this anime with you still.
Yeah. It's kind of depressing because I look at Kanamori and it's like, oh man, that's what I could have been. That's what I could have been, but then I crashed and burned.
Yeah,
Well,
could've
no,
been a
also
high
you
school
didn't.
girl.
As I say, you also didn't have a heartbreaking childhood story, so but we'll get to that.
Mine was
In
A different heartbreaking childhood story.
One that affected you in a different way.
yeah, one that affected me kind of in a negative way. So basically, Kanamori's like, okay, here's our fucking goal. We have a convention coming up, so let's sell the hell out of some DVDs, you dorks.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically calling them dorks. It's great. So they basically go off exploring now. They're going through the city, trying to think of like an idea of something new to create. And it's perfect because as they're walking through, Asakura is sharing her love of exploration with Mizusaki and is like, look at all these places, like there's this place over here and they do this and this place over here, and then they get creative with it. They're like, this looks like a tank, this looks like a hidden colossus in the background. It's like all these creative little things that they're building this world on in their creative collectiveness. And then as they're going through, they're like, Kanamori just goes, listen, it's hot, let's just go fucking underground, it's cooler under there. And then their creativity expands from there further. Like, Asakura finds, like, a drain underground and is like, this is the ancient spiral city that goes down to the center of the earth, and there's shops all around the spiral staircase. And it's like, this is perfect encapsulation of, like, a child's creative mind of the world around them. So they end up... Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. They go to a specific little restaurant that is in the middle of basically a dead underground shopping center. Well, it's not really a shopping center, it's more just a line of shops. And the waiter greets them and is like, hey, I saw your anime at the previous episode that we didn't watch. It was great. I loved it. And they're like, wait, we remember you. 1 second flashback.
Yeah, literally 1 second.
Yeah. And so they sit down and they're like, they start eating the dandan. And it made Deer and I really hungry for it. Because, oh god, it's so nice. It's like delicious, like ramen noodle with fruit.
I've never had
so
it.
nice.
I want to try it real bad.
it's like the perfect combination of like.
I mean,
sweet
Spooky,
and
I
salty.
literally sent you like multiple places to eat the other day in
Yeah,
Ohio.
but I can't. Well, to be fair though, both of those places were like over an hour away, and one of them I can't really drive to. But
Drive anyway.
no, I'm not driving downtown in that city. But in the other city, it's
Anyway.
actually a place I've been wanting to go. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is where I've sort of written 3 specific lines. Kanamori starts talking about the dandan, is like talking about how like the fruit complements the dish and like the purpose of it, and is very deliberately like spinning a metaphor to get the other two to sort of understand the point of creativity and the importance of balance with creativity and realistic expectations. And that's where I've written the line, Kanamori got metaphor for days with dandan. And then the waiter comes along, he's like, you need an idea? I got an idea. It's about a dandan waiter. But by night, he's a cop. And he saves the day by pepper spraying people.
With Szechuan bums.
With
Yeah.
Szechuan bombs. And like, and Kanamori's just like, that's a good idea, we're gonna steal it. You make an anime about that now? Cool. Which is the line, Kanamori gon' steal ideas. And the other two are like, no, we can think of something. So then they've left the restaurant, and they walk in, and Kanamori's like, listen, do you mind if I take a photo and put it on social media? And they're like, what? What's you're on social media? What fun! And that's when we get the great screen cap where Kanamori turns around and yells at them, social media is not fun.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Because social media is not
and
fun,
me and
kids.
Spooky literally just kind of sat there and went, man, I wish we had someone to run our social medias for us.
Yeah.
And
Pay
Gam
me,
just
I'll do
kept... I said
Well,
that
okay.
I would pay you
Okay.
for that!
Here's the thing. During that scene, when like Kanamori was like, "Oh, you gotta set up this thing," and I like heard Deer go, "Oh," I was like, "Deer, shut up, don't, Deer, shut up, don't," because this is a thing that Deer and I have been talking about for years, where it's like, just pay me, I'll fucking deal with it for you, because I used to deal with the social media for the scenes that I did, and it's like it's like, pay me and I'll deal with it. There's a lot of things that I'm like with my friends. They're like, pay me and I'll do this for you.
The
but
thing
I
is
can't
that
do
the
it
last
anymore
time,
because-
I was gonna say, the last time I talked to you about it, you're like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay.
Well, the last time we talked about it was when I had a mental breakdown, so it makes sense that I said no.
Yeah, fair. And you also had a more stable job situation, kind of. Anyway, we'll
I've
get,
never
anyway.
had a stable job situation. Anyway, that's
Anyway.
where I've written the line, Kanamori got Twitter. And Kanamori basically goes through and explains to the audience the importance of marketing and sort of like, hey, if you're not constantly advertising your product, you gotta, like, we can establish a fan base and we need an idea. Like, if you don't have an idea, you can't sell it. And it's like, that's when I've written the line, buy that merch. Buy that merch. Because
Buy
Kanamori's just, like, talking about, like, this is all the merchandise that we could sell. Like, all of this money that we could make. And these are, like, the other two are like, what? People actually want this? And Kanamori's like, here's these polls that I've made online of people being like, I want this type of merch. It's like, these people want merch. We can give it to them. Like, we can make so much money off this. Like,
And
this is
literally,
important.
I believe the examples they give were buttons, stickers, pins, and small prints. And I was
T-shirts.
just
Yeah.
t-shirts.
One of them was t-shirts, yeah.
And I was just like, well, fuck.
Yep. So then we get the lovely little experience of going into Kanamori's creative mind, which means we get the sound effects created by Kanamori's voice actor, which is great. And we get this lovely story about Minimori, Kanamori's childhood, where every day she would go to a store and essentially it was a cautionary tale about why you need advertising and why, like, you could have a perfect product, but if no one knows about it, there's no fucking point. It'll die. Because she goes to the store every day and cleans out the front of it and gets essentially a tiny wage for it.
She basically gets like 50 cents, right?
No, she got, like, It was like $10, and then one day she
It
got
was like
a
$10.
$5 bonus
Okay.
or something.
And then the one day she gets $15 because she gets an extra
Yeah.
500 yen coin.
Okay, I
And
don't know the conversion, sorry.
That's
it's
fine.
essentially like 100 yen is $1
Yeah.
US dollar. It's not accurate, but that's like
It's very close.
the estimate.
Yeah.
The estimate is like because it fluctuates. But that's when she gets the extra and she's like, I'm gonna do some more work. You pay me extra. Like I'm gonna do more work. And then suddenly it's a snowstorm. There's a snowstorm here, and like the shop's closed, but Kanamori showed up anyway, and she's like, "Why are you closed?" And they're like, "Well, it's because it's a snowstorm. No one's going to be out in this." And she's like, "But if we get rid of the snow, like if we plow the front of it, like the minute the snow starts to go away, people will start showing up, and you'll already be ready for it and be able to open up early." And they're like, "I mean, this kid's kind of right. Like, why aren't we doing this?" And so as they're doing it, like, people actually start showing up and start buying things. And that's when the owners realize, man, she's got, like, a really good business mind ahead of her. And they're like, we should help her out a little bit. Like, it's a shame things going on. God damn it, Spooky, I see that tweet you made. We get a troop of cars of people who have shown up to help people with the snowstorm. And they're like, hey, do you mind if we come in here to eat food for a bit? Like, because no one else is open. And they're like, yeah, of course you can. And that's where we cut to Kanamori has put 20 yen on each of the each of the kettles. So it's like every time they need hot water, they're gonna need 20 yen.
Yep.
So it's like they need to pay for it. But Kanamori's like, we got instant noodles, like instantly grabs it. It's like, we got instant noodles, like you can buy these. And after this, the owner is like, here, I'm gonna help you out. Like, instead of a tip today, you're not gonna get a tip because after they experienced what happened last time they gave her a tip. Instead, here's all these products. Like, you can sell these. Like, make a profit out of these instead. Like, this is something that can help you improve things as they are. Improve your entrepreneurial spirit. And instantly she's able to sell a pair of gloves for 10 times the price that they actually are. Because she's like, individual sell better than multi-packs. Like, if you sell something individually, you're going to make a lot more money than if you sell it in a multi-pack. And the guy's like, man, it's a shame we're closing the store next month, as they're talking to these people that are camping out in the store, and Kanamori just kind of stops processing the world around her, and it's just like, oh, they're closing. Why?
Poor Minimori.
Because it's like, it's a part of her life, going and doing this kind of job, because she wanted money outside of her not inheritance. Why is the word inheritance on my mind?
Allowance.
Not inheritance. Allowance. That's right. Sorry, I never got one as a kid, so I never understood the concept.
Same.
She's like, I wanted money outside of my inheritance because I wanted to help support family and everything. And now the store's closing, and she's like, why are you closing? Like, these people, like, you've very clearly shown that you've got good products and people will show up. And they're like, well, it's all these other costs that we've got, and like, no one really comes here anymore. We're out of the way. Like, no one's gonna come. So it's like, well, we gotta shut down. And that's when we go back to the real world, and that's when Kanamori's like, this is what I'm talking about. You need, like, it doesn't matter if you have a good product. If you don't tell people about it, it's gonna go away. And she's like, I'm not going to let this happen to our, like, anime production studio. Like, I'm going to make sure people fucking know about it.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's a great little thing. And that's when Asakura's like, I've got it. I've got the idea. And it's like incorporating all the elements of things that they've seen throughout the day. It's like, I've got it. We've got these tanks that are fighting these UFOs that are invading, and then suddenly the Spiral City appears, ascends, and they send out flying tanks that take down the UFOs, and Kanamori's just like, cool. We got it. And they're like, oh, shit. We cut to later, and they're like, oh, how are we going to fund it, though? Like, if we've learnt that, Kanamori's no longer getting this extra money from, like, charging people, essentially, to use their facilities and work with them. It's like, how are they making money? And that's when Kanamori's like, oh, don't worry about it, the Chamber of Commerce is paying for it. They're like, what? How did you do that? And Kanamori's like, oh yeah, so I've been talking with the waiter, and he's like the young president, or the son of the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and I've been helping him out, like, with his grassroots local business revitalization project. And it's like, it's so adorable, because it's like a really soft side of Kanamori, where she's like, you see how dedicated she is to sort of the idea and concept of local business.
Yeah.
And she, like, in her spare time, went out of her way to help these businesses thrive so they would not die. She's like, I've seen what happens when these wane off and die. Like, we can fix this. We can make your business work. Like, I want to help you because I want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Which is where I go back to sort of the moral idea of capitalism, where it's like, it's not about exploitation, it's about the success and the sort of building up of others.
Yeah, and it's like a
yourself.
mutual gain, because it's like, they funded the
it's
film
mutual
for this
gain.
too, so it's like, yeah, they're helping each other.
Yeah, and that's when, as they're talking about this, Asakusa realizes, like, they're talking about, like, what are they going to do, like, with the specific sound effects, with the, like, they're planning this cannon that'll shoot down this UFO, and, like, it'll make this noise, and Kanamori's just like, wait, why isn't there a laser? Shouldn't there be a laser? And then Asakura goes into a really good rant about, listen, if it was a laser, you wouldn't actually see it, because it's not in the visual spectrum of color that we can see, so actually it makes more sense, and I want to do it this way, that you don't actually see the laser. And then Kanamori's like, I don't know about that, why? Just show a laser, people will expect a laser. And Asakura's like, I don't know, I really want to do it this way. And then one of the sound club comes in and is like, how about this sound for after it's shot? And is like, this overbearing sort of clunky sound. And Asakura's like, no, I expect it to be more like this, like a yeah, it's like a full-on, like, performance of, like, and Kanamori's like, yeah, can you make it like a performance? Like, it is, I mean, this is all a performance anyway, so, like, does that make sense to you, Sound Club person? And they're like, yeah, I mean, I guess I could do that. Like, it makes sense to me of what Asakura wants. And Asakura kind of just, like, goes in herself, and that's when it clicks with her. She's like, it's all a performance. Like, every facet of creativity is a performance. It's an extension of the self. It really is externalizing the internal thoughts and desires of the self. Everything is about showing others what I think and what I want to do. So it's like, it suddenly clicks, and she's like, okay, I don't want this laser. We're not doing a fucking laser. Here's what we'll do instead. We'll make it super obvious that this weapon shot down this UFO. So, like, we'll angle them up so you can see it easily, and then we'll have, like, say a bullet casing comes out of the cannon afterwards. So it's, like, very obvious that something was shot. Like, this is the way we can do it. We can cover it up in all these different ways to avoid compromising my creative vision for what I want. It's a great little scene. And then they're like, okay, that's all good and dandy, but we've got to have our primary goal right now, which is preparing for Comet A convention to sell these DVDs. And that, no, not aha, da-dan!
Well, I meant haha. Wait, are you saying there's something that sounds like Comet in Japan?
Comet A. God.
Well, okay, so the convention, I kind of mentioned it, but I didn't really bring it up. They're like, we gotta sell the DVDs, but they're like, we gotta sell these DVDs at this convention that's, like, designed for self-publishing sort of artistic types to sell their wares. And it's like, okay, very obvious sort of the idea they're going for there with, like, I completely just lost the word in my head.
It's okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not an artist alley, but like a specific sort of
yeah, it's comic.
Fuck, what's the Japanese? It's like a Japanese, like, Japanese like self-created manga. What's the word?
Doujinshi.
Fuck. That's it. Doujinshi. That's that type of sort of convention where it's like all these creative people set up their. I can't believe I fucking forgot that word. Set up their own stalls and sell their own shit, and they're like, okay, that's what we've got to get for, and it's called Comedy.
Yeah, just Google Comic Kit.
It basically is just Comic Cat.
Yeah.
Which is, understandable. It's kind of on the nose, so it's Comic Cat. But yeah, and then it's like, okay, next episode, and then we stop watching it forever.
Yep. That's the end of all anime.
Forever.
It's good. I like it. I want to watch it.
So, okay, who do you think my favorite character is? I'm curious on this.
It's either
Tall
us.
lady.
No, yeah, it's Kanamori. It's
Kanamori. This is the only show, like, in history that can give me 2 animators and make me like the one that's not the animator. Like, I fucking love Eizouken. I wish I would have had this show growing up. Like, if I would have seen this when I was, like, 12, it would have, like, impacted me so hard. I mean, and it impacted me as an adult watching it.
We kind of glossed over it a bit, because it kind of doesn't make sense to explain in the sort of plot description, but a lot of this, as they're going through creating the anime, isn't just, hey, we'll have UFOs go pew-pew. It's like, hey, what if we had an extra frame like this, and what if we do it? Like, specific, like, actual tips and tricks that, like, someone who wants to create...
They were talking about how they were doing tweening for the skirt moving, and she was like, I don't really like how that looks. Let me add this random frame here, and here, and here, and now it looks great, because now it doesn't look like it's just looping. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what you do!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all these, like, tips and tricks and shortcuts that are, like, specifically like, hey, if you just go gung-ho and, like, I want to make this is what's going to happen. Your cuts are going to be massive. You're going to spend forever to create something that's never going to come out. Like, you need to compromise and, like, do things a more creative, shortcut way. And there's nothing wrong with that, because this is the way you're meant to do it. It's like, you incorporate and compromise on how much you use of certain styles or certain methods in creating certain things. And it's like, well, you could do this, you could show things a specific way, like, you could hold on a frame like this and pan the camera like this. Like, very specific creative tips. So, like, someone growing up who's like, I want to, you know what, watching this anime about someone who's like, I want to make an anime, and then makes the anime, watches it and goes, I want to make my own, like, animated short or something. It's like, they could actually take things in there and implement them themselves in their own creative product. Which is why I highly agree with you, Spooky, that it's like, this is fucking great for kids to watch.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%.
Like, it's an amazing sort of anime for kids to watch. Even as you're saying, adults watch it as well.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah, like when
our
this
countries have problems with anime.
Yeah.
with taking it seriously.
Yeah, I mean, but it can be applied to normal animation in general too.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, exactly.
But yeah, no, whenever I watched this, because this aired earlier this year, and, I was, like, in an art rut when I watched it, and it, like, gave me the motivation to, like, no, I can pull myself out of this, I can adapt my style, and I can get to a point where, like, I want to be, and, it, like, I don't know, it really did help. Like, after every episode, I wanted to, like, run into my office and pull out my tablet and, like, draw, because it was, like, I was just fueled with motivation. It's amazing that they could, like, convey that through these characters.
Yeah. So it still hardly connects in my mind that it's like, this finished in March this year.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like it was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it feels like a century ago.
That's been this entire year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also the nature of years in general, but I really like it.
Yeah.
I want to watch the rest of it when I have time.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, that this is, like, anime of the year. This is anime 2020. This is where it's at. Like, there's a lot of shows that have come out since that I like a lot, but, like, this aired in January, and I'm like, it's the best show of the year. I said that when it started airing. I was like, this is gonna be show of the year. So what do you guys rate it?
So, well, I was gonna say, this makes me sad. Because I would not watch this in dubs, for one.
Mm-hmm.
But I currently don't have the time to watch it in subs. When I watch most of my shows is when I'm working. And so I just put them on in the background and I listen to them and I'm drawing. And I don't look up, like, almost at all, but I still get what's going on. I can't watch anime. It's in Japanese. I can't look up constantly. I'm working. Like, that's just not something I can do. And currently I don't have the time or the the mental capacity and attention span to, like, watch this in its entirety. And it makes me really sad. I really fucking want to watch this. This is, like, really up there for me, but I just don't think I'll be able to watch it anytime soon.
Well, I don't base it on, like, the reality of, like, whether you would watch it. Base it on what you want.
I am. I'm just saying, like, in reality, like, I'm probably not going to be able to watch this anytime soon. In my rating system, like, 9, 10. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, we're going.
I'd say the same. A 9. I don't know if I'd say 10. I'd have to watch the rest of it to say whether I would call it a 10 or not.
I think me and Spooky might click with it a bit more, but I don't know at the same time because you literally click with, like, the advertisement side of it.
Well, no, I actually click a lot with the creative side of it. It's not really a point of, like, if you're an artist, you'll click with it, because it's more because the point of the show isn't about art, it's about creativity in general. So it's like, I incredibly click with the concepts they're going for, and mainly sort of the way that they put forward these concepts and talk about them and go through. It's more humorous to me, the sort of fact that Kanamori and I are alike in a lot of ways.
So I guess what I'm kind of getting at more is, like, there are parts that me and Spooky might click with more than you do, just because it's partially a show that has to do with, like, art and stuff, and it's just like, oh, like, yeah, like, backgrounds and things like that, and, like, doing these shortcuts and things, like, oh, fuck, like, yeah, those colors shouldn't be right, sort of thing.
I feel like, yes, but that's, like,
but it's not the main
level.
thing, yes.
Yeah, it's surface level, not compared to, like, the core concept of the show itself, which I genuinely click with a lot.
No, I don't.
Where it's like, obviously there's a lot of surface. There's, like, obviously a lot of surface level stuff that I wouldn't connect with, like the two of them drawing over each other's drawings and, like, going for that. I understand it, but it's like, I don't go, oh man, I remember doing that with friends, or, like, oh man, I really want to do that with friends. It's like, it's more just an analytical, like, I understand it, the concept, and what whereas the scene is going for.
Yeah, and I don't know about Spooky, but at least for me, I was like, oh, like, that's hitting me, like, in the soul right now. Like, oh, God.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I have a lot of friends who, like, aren't artists who have given this a 10. To me, it's just such a breath of fresh air. Like, I love everything about the show so much, but, like, it's so unique, and that's why I ultimately gave it a 10, because at first I was, like, teetering on, like, is it a 9, is it a 10, I don't know, and not that it's a big deal, but just for myself, you know, and then I was like, well, no, this is a 10, just because, like, on top of, like, how it made me feel, and how it motivated me, and how, like, realistically written the characters are, like, it's just so unique. Like I said, the characters are extremely realistic, which is something you don't see in anime that often.
Yeah.
And just, like, the sound
characters
design,
are us.
yeah,
like,
yeah. The sound design is amazing. I just related to so much of it. Like, everything about it was just so. It, like, almost doesn't feel like an anime. Like, it's really, it's just so unique, and I fell in love with it so fast.
It feels transgressive because the main concept of the show isn't... It's kind of self-descriptive in that the entire show itself is about the creation of the show itself.
Right.
Yeah.
But not in a humorous way like a more comedy anime would go about it, and not in an unrealistic way. It's more like, you could literally tell this story in a live action sense, but Spooky and I had this discussion when we found out that there is a live action remake of it.
Yeah, there is a live action remake.
It doesn't work the way that they do it, because the problem is, I believe the core concept of this show is so intrinsically linked with that concept of going back and forth between reality and this metaphorical creative perspective that, like, you cannot do without it, and doing it in a live action sense doesn't work because graphics wouldn't be on par with how it works,
Right.
and also the anime style more makes it comfortable to look at, whereas like in live action where it's like you see a real person and then suddenly green screened onto CGI, it's like this feels weird.
It's like you
now.
could take
it's like it takes you out of it.
And it's like you could take this concept and make something live action that works, but you can't just make a live action remake of this. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Gamb and I were looking at like shots.
It
from
would have to be
like,
a completely different interpretation.
Yes,
not just an
100%.
adaptation.
But I don't know. They definitely used the fact that it's animated. Like, just everything about, I don't know. I love it. I love, like, the different worlds you go into when you find out, like when Asuka's in the submarine, and you're like, oh, you know, it's like showing her in the world in the submarine, and then, like, Kanamori claps at her to get her attention, and she's just, like, hunched over walking down the road. Yeah, like, just hunched over walking down the road. It was all in her imagination. And I just think that's, like, I don't know. It's something I feel like you don't see often, and something that when you do see it, it's not pulled off well. It's just...
To be fair, I feel like a lesser anime that didn't understand the concept it was going for would focus on exactly the same things, except there would be one core difference in that what happens in Asakura's mind sort of perspective that we see has an impact on the real world.
Right.
Like, so like when she gets snapped out of it by Kanamori, there would be like a fire hydrant exploding like behind them or something, where it's like very clear that she's making an impact on reality, where it's like that's completely misses the point of what's going on.
Right. And I mean, like, even watching this back to back with Flip Flappers, I think is really interesting. Because in Flip Flappers, they do actually go to these alternate worlds and, like, solve issues, like, within them and stuff. So it's, like, just interesting to see the two ideas, like, actually going and doing it versus, like, just imagining it, both done really well in completely different scenarios is super cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good shit. Good shit.
It's good shit. And we didn't watch the episode with the tanuki, but we with the
we
raccoon
shared memes
dog.
about it.
But we watched it because we'd already seen it on Twitter when it came out. And we shared memes about it, and I fucking love it. It's such a good fucking scene.
It's so good. I also love how in episode... It was in episode 4 that we watched. It was like when Kanamori wasn't in the room, it would just show like Akazaka and Misha... Wait, what's her fucking name? I always blank on her name.
No, just camo and model. It's fine.
Mizusashi. Mizusashi. It just shows them, like, fucking around. Like, they're, like, on a table in a fucking boat. Like, and Kanamori enters the room, and they, like, it's, like, fall over, because they're like, oh, fuck. Like, it's almost like, oh, no, mom's back, you know? And I don't know. I just really love that they have Kanamori to, like, keep them in check. Very bluntly.
I feel like because you both know, and person in general does not listen to our podcast anyway, so it's fine. With everything I have going on right now, I'm just like rocking back and forth, like, oh god, am I gonna get things done? Like, I have a deadline. Oh god. And you know exactly, like, what I'm going through, so I feel like this was a good choice at this exact moment, Suki.
Give you the extra little push of motivation from the girls.
I don't need any more motivation, everybody else does!
Listen, it's fine. It'll pan out. If you need me to yell at people, I will. I'll yell at all the people.
When is this releasing, Gamb? Just...
This Friday.
Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
Don't say things. But yeah.
Don't say things.
Don't say things.
Hey,
Just
if
hope
you're-
and pray for
if
us
you're in this
that
pod-
our
if you're in
thing is
this
that my
podcast
thing
right
is going to
now,
get done.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, do us a little favor. Don't talk about this. It's our secret. It's our secret,
do us a little
listeners.
favor and send Deer some money.
Yeah, do us a little
Oh,
favor.
fuck off. This isn't even my podcast. This is Spooky's.
No, this is technically Gamb's.
No, this is yours because you're the one that runs it. Gamma is the Doctor Who
Gamb's
one. I have the horror one.
Patreon.
Well,
Which-
this is
listen,
mine that I've seceded control
Yeah.
to speak
As
with.
okay,
Yeah.
so if this is my podcast, as the podcast owner, I say give money to Deer.
God damn it. Okay, well, if this is releasing on Friday, can we at least mention that on the 26th, next Thursday, on Thanksgiving, is horror movie night?
Yes, you can.
Okay, well,
Okay,
it's going to
you've
be
done
horror
it. Let's
movie
move
night.
on.
It's going to be a really, really bad movie. We're doing it on Thanksgiving because with everything going on, we figure y'all want to spend some time with somebody if you can't spend it with your family. So we're
Oh
here
yeah,
to
Thanksgiving.
facilitate for that. And you can come watch Thanksgiving with us
Hell yeah.
on Thanksgiving.
So yeah, Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving. We'll see you then, I guess.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
goodbye.
bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.